I'm just a streaming dirtbag, baby. Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy. Oh, 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 oh. I'm just a streaming dirtbag, baby. Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy. Oh, 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 oh. Thank you, Uncle Remus. Thank you, Wesley. And thank you, everybody who came. Now that's a franchise I'd watch.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Tracker here. Good to see you all. Man, I got to get used to this new schedule, but I'm excited to be here, excited to be alive, because the alternative would be that I wouldn't be, I guess. But Thomas was first in the house. Bradley a close second. Says, up everybody. Bradley then says, you won this round, Thomas. I'll get you next time. Thomas says, won what? I'm not sure. The title of first. And Robert says, oh, the pain of the horrible singing of Bird of Prey 5. Well, you know, bird singing is unique. We'll just leave it at that. Professor Brady Specs is saying last, even though we know you're not last, Professor Brady Specs. Bradley says, I always try to be first, but you win most of the time. Yes. And Thomas says, I never try to be first. There's no dollar reward. Well, that part is definitely true. Is it raining in your house? No. That's a very odd question, Thomas. Why are you asking me if it's raining in my house? It's very, very lightly snowing outside. Probably not enough to actually stick, but it is definitely snowing. I was just walking Auntie before I started this. And so, yeah, the ocean wave sound. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I hope it's not too loud. I haven't adjusted it since last time. You guys said it was okay last time. Hopefully, if it's too loud, let me know. So, I want to talk for just... And Robert, hey, how you doing? And Alex is also in the house. Says, which Earth religion is the most analogous to Klingon beliefs? Wow, that's a tough one. But I would have to say probably something like the Greco-Roman myths. Not really a modern religion, but because as far as like the Klingons, from what we saw on TNG, they had more or less a pagan belief, you know, lowercase g gods. And they also believed that, of course, I think it was Kahless killed them. So, you know, Kahless, some people are trying to create like a Christ allegory with, but honestly, it doesn't really work that way because, you know, Kahless was, you know, Christ was obviously the opposite of Kahless in a lot of ways. Because people wanted Christ to be a warrior, and Christ was basically a pacifist. And so a lot of people back in the first century were kind of disappointed by that. So anyway, the reason for the title here is, and this is something that our church does every year, and Robert's saying the vocal's a little low. I'll try to bring it up a little bit, but it starts to distort if I bring it up too much. So I'll try that, see if that's okay, Robert. And I can bring this up just a smidge. Hopefully that's not distorting or anything. The idea of Christian media is 99% of it is garbage, right? If you've ever watched a quote-unquote Christian movie, most of them are horrible. But something that our church does every year is towards the beginning of the year, we have a 40-day fast, and we're on that fast right now. We're actually a little better than halfway through it. And it's not, there are different ways of fasting, different methodologies, different things you fast. But one of the things that we try to do during these fasts is, except for where a necessity, we don't watch secular, fictional media. So basically, documentaries are okay, and religious themed programming is okay as long as it's positive. And it's kind of to give yourself a break from the garbage that is put out there by Hollywood. And the problem is that while the quality of most Christian programming is far inferior to most secular programming, honestly, the message in even what people consider good secular programming is antithetical to the Christian philosophy and the Christian way of life. And so that's something that you need to, if you're a believer, at least. I mean, obviously, if you're not a Christian, doesn't really matter to you. But if you are a Christian, you really should take a break from it every once in a while to kind of remind yourself of just how far off from what, the Bible says most mainstream media is. For example, the number one message we see in most children's programming and family-friendly movies is to believe in yourself, to find your identity in who you are, and and that you can be the best there is, and all this stuff. And it sounds great and innocuous and all that, and it basically boils down to the first verse of Satanism: do as you will. And as opposed to the Christian philosophy is that you're supposed to lose yourself. It's almost like a Buddhist type of thing. You're not supposed to be all focused on you. As a Christian, your number one focus should be on God and then on your neighbor before you. You are, as Professor Brady Specs likes to say, last. And that's something that is never, ever encouraged by secular media. So that's one thing. And when I say Satanism, Thomas, I don't the worship of bird of prey. No. And that's the problem, is a lot of people don't realize, when most people think of satanic stuff, they think of Hollywood likes to portray satanic rituals, for example, you draw a pentagram and you're casting spells and you're worshiping the devil. Honestly, most mainstream satanic belief is atheistic in nature. It's not they don't worship the devil, but they worship themselves. They put themselves above all else. And that is, that's why I said, do as you wilt. That is the primary message of Satanism. As long as you don't hurt another person, do whatever feels good for you, man. It's all good. Just be you, right? And I understand that from a humanistic standpoint, that sounds okay. Hey, you're not hurting other people and all that. But if assuming for a moment that Christianity is true, then that type of attitude is going to very happily get you straight to hell. And you shouldn't, and I don't want that for anybody. So I'm not going to encourage that in people. And it's a shame that, unfortunately, Hollywood doesn't quite understand that, And so what's my opinion of Ned Flanders from The Simpsons? I think that, honestly, there should be a lawsuit there. I think that Life with Matthew should be suing Fox, or now Disney, because they stole his likeness. They just added a mustache, and they think that they can get away with it. That's clearly Life with Matthew. That's my opinion of Ned Flanders. And it's actually kind of funny because Ned Flanders is a better example of a Christian than most of what we get on television. And I haven't watched The Simpsons in a long time. At least he was 20 years ago. He was always had that level of joy even when bad things happened. And he was always content with what he had. And even though, like many times, Homer would screw over Flanders at every opportunity, Flanders was still always there to help Homer. You know, and that's in the old days. I haven't watched Simpsons in a very long time, so I don't know if they've changed him at all. But that's kind of where... so I actually don't hate the character. It's not a horrifically bad portrayal of a Christian. But the problem, though, is that when you're watching some of this Christian media, you let the quality of the media get in the way of the message, and that's easy to do. And so one of the things that we try to do is find those rare gems that are good or well made, but also show a positive message. And sometimes it's stuff that may not be produced by Christians, but stuff that has Christian themes in it, or the original source material was written by a Christian. For example, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is considered perfectly okay during the fast, as is the Hobbit trilogy, which we watched those last year, so we're not really watching them this year. But we watched a couple of movies so far this year, and there's the thing that bugs me about some of this stuff is that even in the good stuff, they almost never get it right. And there are some, honestly, what could be awesome movies to be made by Hollywood if someone would just get to adapting the source material accurately. A wonderful example. There are two things that tend to be the focus of the majority of biblical epic films. One is, of course, the life and times of Christ himself, right? That's the obvious one. That's the easy one. It's the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. The other big one is, of course, Exodus. And for those of you that don't know, Exodus is the second book in the Bible, and that is the story of Moses. That's the story of Moses basically leading the Israelites out of Egypt to the Promised Land. And the reason that it's been adapted to so many films is because it's a very compelling story, and it's a very cinematic story. And so it's got a lot of good drama to it. It's got a lot of things that you can really sink your teeth into if you're a movie maker and stuff, and a lot of big visual effects pieces to do, like the parting of the Red Sea and the plagues of Egypt and all that stuff. And so we've watched a few of those. There's the classic Charlton Heston 10 Commandments, and of course, the more recent one with Christian Bale, Exodus, Gods and Kings, and a slew of other Moses movies in between. But the interesting thing is, and at least maybe it's out there, and probably some really low-budget Christian movie, but maybe it's out there, but I have yet to see one that actually accurately tells the story of Moses. And I understand you got to take some artistic license. You have to, because if you just did it line by line, verse by verse, the way it is in the Bible, it would feel very oddly paced as a film. But I don't have a problem with that. But what I would like to see is Aaron. And Aaron gets totally disrespected by Hollywood. Aaron is one of the major players of the story of Moses, and he's relegated to a third-tier background character in most of these movies. He's just like, oh yeah, that's Moses' brother Aaron. Hey guys, how you doing? And then he's, that's about it. What a lot of people don't realize is, the dramatic stuff where Moses, holds his staff and demands to let his people go, or he waves the staff in the air and parts the Red Sea and all this other cool stuff. That didn't happen in the Bible. In the Bible, Aaron did all that stuff. Aaron was the guy that was doing all the badass stuff in the book of Exodus. Moses was just the guy that talked to God and then told Aaron what to do. And it's actually, like I said, this I think would be an interesting film to make. Moses, we don't know the exact details of it, but Moses had some kind of speech impediment. Some people think he was a stutterer. So we don't really know. We only know that he describes it himself as not being eloquent of speech. And when in the original story, if you read Exodus, when Moses is confronted by the burning bush, the which is just a some kind of manifestation that God created to communicate to Moses with. When he's having that conversation with God, and God's like, okay, dude, here's the plan. You're going to go to Egypt, and you're going to get all the people out. You're going to go to Pharaoh, and you're going to demand that he release the people. And Moses was like, whoa, wait a minute, God, I can barely talk. He said, I'm not eloquent of speech is how it's written, but he basically was saying he can't get up there in front of Pharaoh and talk to the guy. He can't talk worth a darn. And so then God said, well, you know what? Your brother will do the talking. I'll just tell you what to tell him. And that's what happens. And so all the cool stuff is completely changed in the in the movies. Now, some movies are better than others, but and I don't expect movies to be 100% biblically accurate because I know that's not even possible. Even the ones that supposedly aren't. It's like I am so sick, because especially since we've watched a lot of these movies, of seeing why is it that everybody in the Middle East 2,000 years ago apparently had an English accent. Whatever. But I would love to see that. And unfortunately, though, it's probably never going to happen. So that's all I wanted to ramble on about, because I've been watching those movies. Now, I do watch, obviously when I'm doing my little Star Trek videos, I'll be watching episodes of Star Trek, but because I got to pull the clips and stuff. But that I consider a necessity because it's for you guys. Anyway, so let's get back to the chat. Let's see. Daniel says, hey, buddy, sorry I'm late. Just got back home. Now what I missed? Not a whole lot, Daniel. I just got started myself. Let's see. Douglas is waving. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Daniel then says, did you see the video I gave you? I love women who do martial arts. Honestly, no. I saw that you sent that to me, Daniel, but you know what? Dude, that's not a thing for me. Alex says, dear Andy Trigger, what's your opinion of the Left Behind films? Honestly, well, I know there's the Nicolas Cage Left Behind film, which was really, really hilariously bad. I think that we might have to do that on a Thursday night with Life with Matthew sometime. Which is basically the entire plot of the movie is Nicolas Cage lands a plane. That's the entire plot of the film. And so, it was a joke. The Left Behind films, the Kirk Cameron ones, I've only seen the first one. And honestly, number one, theologically, I disagree with some of the concepts in it. Number two, the production value, while better than your average Christian film, is like saying better than your average porno. It's not very good. So that's kind of my opinion. CD says, I assume you won't be watching The Last Jedi. Not anytime soon. Bruce Almighty and Evan Almighty. Honestly, Evan Almighty is a better film from a theological standpoint than Bruce Almighty, but no. Mortimer says, hello, Trigger. What exactly is Christian media, or what would some examples be? Well, actual Christian media is mostly like stuff that is written or produced by Christians. The problem with that stuff is that Christians generally don't know how to write compelling stories because they try to shy away from things that might offend their fellow Christians. So you'll have some hard-nosed guy, like you see some of these Christian movies and they're hilarious because you'll see like this guy's supposed to be some hard-nosed thug on the streets. He's a drug dealer and, somebody wants to buy some drugs. And he's like, oh, okay, golly gee, I'll sell you those drugs. I got some drugs right here for you, and it's just like hilarious the way they write this dialogue because they don't know how to write for characters that are truly seedy people. And so, there's no cussing. There's not, nobody looks mean. Everybody's clean shaven and just golly gee, and it'd be like if you were try to picture life with Matthew doing gangster rap. That's that's kind of what it's like. As far as good Christian media, I would say a really, really solid Christian film is Risen. That's one we watched very recently. It's got, oh gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's Ralph Fiennes' brother in the lead role as a Roman, not a centurion, but above that, prefect, who is, or is it prefect? No. Something. Anyway, but he's the highest ranking officer in the local garrison in Jerusalem. And it's not about Jesus, it's about events around Jesus. Kind of like Ben-Hur, but it's done by Christians. And so this guy is given the job by Pontius Pilate to investigate what happened to the body of Jesus. And so that's kind of where it picks up. And so that one is actually surprisingly good. And they also, for a very rare thing, have an accurate looking Jesus in it. And so that, which is just very, very odd, but kind of refreshing. So that's a really good one. Obviously the mainstream Hollywood films that adapt biblical material can be much more epic feeling and stuff, but sometimes they play a little fast and loose with some of the theology in a negative way. Like Thomas says, the movie with Christian Bale, the Exodus movie with Christian Bale was good. As a film, it's an excellent film. And Christian Bale, this is, I generally say Christian Bale's an overrated actor, but I think he was great as Moses. He did a fine job, and I can't remember the name of the guy that played Pharaoh. He did great too. The biggest problem with that movie, honestly, was that we didn't have enough time with Moses and Pharaoh. They were separated for most of the movie, and when they were on screen together, it was freaking awesome. But whenever they were like doing their own things, it was less awesome. But the problem is they also tried to turn Moses into an action hero. I mean, with the Red Sea parted, Moses and Pharaoh were charging at each other on their chariots and duking it out and stuff. And that's like not really Moses. But hey, I get it. They're trying to sexy it up because, who wants to watch an accurate Moses? But I think as a film, it's really good. There are a couple of choices I understand why a lot of people found offensive. The childish child God, a lot of people found offensive. And I can't say as I blame them. They basically made God out to be a spoiled brat. And I didn't like that. But I think Christian Bale was awesome. I didn't have a problem with Moses arguing with God. Like, I know some people were offended by that. That didn't bother me in the slightest because I could see that being a thing. And Orville Nation!
Is Father Joe here? Have a lot of face.
No, Father Joe is on vacation today. Just me, Orville Nation. But you know what? I know you. I don't think you have nearly as much to confess as you probably do. Jason thinks Moses had a lisp. Well, like I said, it's not really known. The only thing he says is, I'm not eloquent of speech. That's all the information we have on it. Daniel says, I love the old Ten Commandments movie with Charlton Heston. It's in my living room on good old VHS. That is a great film. But again, they don't give Aaron any love. They have Moses do it all. And Charlton Heston was also an awesome Moses. The Narnia movies are also pro-Christian. Yes, the Narnia movies are actually meant to be Christian children's entertainment. C.S. Lewis wrote them with the specific intent of them being Christian books. The movies, not as good as the books, but not bad. The Robe was a good biblical-based movie. I don't think I've seen The Robe. I'm going to have to look for that one. I'm copying that. I'm doing a quick look on Google because I have never... At least the name is that I say from 1953, huh? Roman province of Judea during the 1st century. Roman tribute. Marcus goes ordered to crucify Jesus. Okay. Oh, that's what it was. He was a tribute. Actually, I've not heard of that one. So I'll have to tell Mrs. Antichecker about that. She may not know about that one. In fact, let me text her right now so that I don't forget. Because we're always on the lookout for good. We love the epics. And so... Right. Let's see. Tom says, "Did you ever get past the rank of trio in the Roman army?" And Lancer says, "I made a video with a daily Bible reading today, but half is about a specific pastor having his First Amendment infringed, and he's blocked from helping poor people." Well, that's weird, Lancer. I mean, why would he get blocked from helping poor people? I mean, I didn't watch your video, so I don't know anything about that. Darth Maul says, "What is your biblical view on men whose eye gets caught by random women other than his wife? Some say it's a biological response, but it's not to excuse to distract from your wife." Darth Maul, if I'm understanding you correctly, if you're saying like the old wandering eye thing, right? So that what Christ himself says is that obviously, it's written that you will not commit adultery. I say that if you look upon a woman with lust in your mind, that you've committed adultery in your heart. But that doesn't mean, for example, you're sitting there walking along and this gorgeous woman walks by and you're like, ooh, right? Now, is that a sin? No, that's called you saw something that you were very tempted by. What makes it into a sin is when you start leering and then you start indulging in your mind about things you would like to do. And, that's where you start crossing a line there. So that is absolutely wrong. However, just glancing and seeing something that's attractive, that is a biological response. It's when you make a conscious choice to continue that stare, that is when things go bad. Gotcha. Is Knowing a Christian movie? I do not believe officially it is, but it is very obvious that the writers of Knowing knew a lot about Christianity. And if you haven't seen Knowing, I know Nicolas Cage has this reputation for just being crazy, and he is generally, but it's actually a pretty solid modern interpretation of kind of a rapture type event. It's not 100% theologically accurate, but it's a very interesting take on it. What's your favorite biblical comedy sketch and why? Wow, that is a tough one. A biblical comedy sketch? I don't know that I really have one, but, honestly, and I know it's silly, but VeggieTales are pretty darn funny. A lot of them are actually hilarious. And so, let's see. I love to see the Moses action figure for that. Daniel says, "Godzilla vs. King Kong old 1962 movie is awesome. I got to say, they did a great job with what they had at the time." Well, I'm not into guys in suits so much. I don't think that the old Godzilla vs. King Kong, and actually I think it's King Kong versus Godzilla is the name of that one. The new one is called Godzilla versus Kong, I think. But anyway, that movie I think was not my favorite Godzilla movie, to be honest with you. I like the 1954 Godzilla, absolute classic. Godzilla Raids, again, pretty solid. But then once they got into the more cheesy stuff, and Godzilla vs. Kong, they were trying to take it seriously, but the last Christian TV I saw was Jesus of Nazareth at school 30 years ago. Mrs. Antrigger really likes that one. And I'm trying to remember which one that is, because there's so many Jesus epics out there. Heston was great, absolutely Orville Nation. Bird O'Prey 5 is in the house, blaspheming the place up. 7-book Narnia series is good. The Robe looks like it was looks like a filmed play. Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I've never heard of it until today. So I don't know if it's any good, but hey, if we can find a place to watch it for free, we'll probably watch it. And let's see. Lancer says, Andrew, he's from Louisiana. The state is claiming his church is spreading the coronavirus and interfering with church operations. He can't provide for poor people that rely on it. So I don't know what the rules are in Louisiana, but that is a tough one. So I don't know what's the specifics of that situation. I do know that there are a lot of, like our church, we're trying to do everything we can to be safe and to be careful and all that. And, we insist that people wear masks and all that. And then people won't go to church because, you got to wear a mask and that's not fair. I got my rights. Now, look, if they're actually having to close down churches, I don't know what's going on in that town or or in Louisiana in general. But if it is that serious, I can understand it. If it's not that serious, then I don't understand it. But it's not necessarily. And the problem with the First Amendment thing is that I know that the First Amendment says that the federal government cannot prevent the free exercise of religion. But the state of Louisiana is not the federal government. And so they actually kind of can in matters of crises like this, if it's deemed necessary. But I hope that they're able to get things going soon. I will tell you that our church, even when our church was closed for a few weeks, we have a ministry that we called it's called the 5,000, where we feed homeless people, and we never stopped it. We took a lot of precautions. We weren't doing Sunday services, but we were absolutely out there feeding people. Robert says, there's also Faith Like Potatoes set in more recent times. There's Faith Like Potatoes set in more recent times, and it's based on a person's true story. It takes place in Africa. Faith Like Potatoes? That's the name of something? Faith Like Potatoes, 2006. Wow, never heard of that one. But hey, more power to him, I guess. Mortimus says, I asked once before, have you watched any of the Redemption Road movies? Yes, but we watched the first one, and I think we thought, hey, for a Christian movie, it's not that bad. Yeah. Dan says, Andy Trekker, I watched the latest episode of Star Trek Online. It's interesting. It takes place the year 2411. Well, I get that, but we're not talking about Star Trek right now, Daniel. This is the church live stream. But cool. I'm not really into Star Trek Online, but I hope it's good. Why is there a dog on your screen? It's actually a cat. No reason. Dear Andy Trekker, have you seen Road? You guys just want to talk about monster movies now. Yes, but it's been a very long time. Yorktown's here from Eastern Canada. Good to see you. Richie says good evening. Trustin says good evening. How are we all doing? I hope we are all doing well. I just got off work a little while ago, and now we're just hanging out for a little bit. And I hope you're doing awesome. Let's see. Daniel says they have to fight House Mokai to unite the Empire because House Mokai had destabilized the Empire. So the latest episode is interesting. Ed Trigger go to a Klingon. They go to a Klingon. Okay. Way off topic, but okay, Daniel. Alex says, could you change one thing? You guys, if you could change one thing about Enterprise, what would it be and why? Not have it be canceled. So I don't think that, in fact, I think after season 4, they were really moving in the right direction, and then they canceled it. So I guess I will take tomorrow about, I assume you talk tomorrow about it. Sorry. No, that's okay, Daniel. That's okay. Okay, so yeah, the Robe movie is on Amazon, but it's like $10. And Professor Brain Specs is going, I've got faith of the heart. I can't sing today. That's a version of Bongo Cat. Yes, indeed it is. And it's supposed to do stuff. I don't know if it does. Like, if people super chat, it's supposed to react, but I didn't even notice if it did when the super chat came in a little while ago from Orville Nation. Richie's saying meow, because why not? What's your opinion on the Omen films? Actually, I think they're pretty interesting. And I think that they're well done. And I kind of like the fact that, the funny thing about Damien is that you're not going to beat it's kind of like, what's that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with the devil in it? Oh, gosh, I'm trying to remember now. I really like that one, but it's like, I think it was like called The Sixth Day. That's one we should watch. That's got a Christian theme to it, and it's an action-y movie. I think it's The Sixth Day. But I like the idea that, it's The Sixth Day. I like the idea that or End of Days, you're right. The Sixth Day is another one. The Sixth Day is like a cloning one. Thank you. Thank you, Darren. But I like when movies, if they're going to bring in the devil, that's perfectly fine. But I hate it when people beat the devil with guns or something like that. When they have a movie where either the person thinks they beat the devil, but really they didn't. Like, for example, The Devil's Advocate, great movie. Or movies like End of Days or even The Omen, where either the devil wins or at the in the End of Days, the cool thing is, like, Arnie comes to the conclusion at the end, oh yeah, I guess you can't beat this guy with guns. He's the frickin' devil. So I like that stuff. I think the devil makes a great villain for a horror movie, but you gotta give the devil his due. You can't like make him so that you can beat him like physically. Captain Trex in the house. How you doing, my friend? Richie says, you may have already spoken of this, but how did the first Bible study go? Actually, it was a lot of fun, and we're going to do it every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. And we still have plenty of openings if somebody wants to join. There's an email address, which is, I'm going to put it in the chat, atbs2021@gmail.com. So that is the email address. If you want to join the Bible study, then what you can do is send me an email to that email address. Let me know you want to join. And then on the morning of, actually the night before is when I've been sending the emails out, but the night before, I'll send to everybody that I have on my list a link to go to a Streamlabs or StreamYard's room the next morning. And if we grow to the point where we need to do a different format, we'll make it work. But right now, Streamlabs is enough, or StreamYard. I always get them mixed up. StreamYard is big enough, because that'll hold up to 10 people. Let's see, or 9, I think. Daniel says, I really hope they don't do Secret Wars 2015. Really do not like Secret Wars 2015 because I love the multiverse, and they do their own version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Well, I never read Secret Wars 2015, Daniel, so don't know anything about it. I would hope that if they're going to do a Secret Wars adaptation, that they would do the original 1986, I want to say, Secret Wars. Hope, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong. My local library has Faith Like Potatoes. Perhaps you could check out Hoopla Digital Media and watch it from your local library as long as you have your library card. I do not have a library card, actually. The devil lives at the center of the galaxy. Star Trek did an entire episode on it. That is true. The animated series did do an episode where they found the devil in the center of the galaxy. Funny enough, that of course in Star Trek V they found a fake god at the center of the galaxy. Like, Kirk, I guess, forgot about that. In regards to the Omen, which do you prefer, David Warner original or David Thwaites, however you say that, remake, as the British photographer? I've forgotten his name. I like David Warner in the original. I mean, yes, the decapitation scene was laughable, but it was still... the original was a far superior film. Professor Brainy Specs says, shame on you. Look, first of all, we haven't lived here that long. You know, we've been here a few years, so I had a library card in Portland. I just don't have one here. And, you know, I just got... look, I love you, Jeff, I do, but... You know I'm dyslexic, so the last place you're going to find me hanging out for fun is the library. Sorry. Speaking of Damien oh gosh, how do you say that? McColgan says, shout out from Ireland. Well, good to have a friend from the Emerald Isle that's not quite as crazy as Darth Revan. And you might say, how do I know Damien McColgan is not as crazy as Darth Revan? Because nobody is as crazy as Darth Revan except for Alexander up in not Canada. What do you think of The Pastor, the movie with Kevin Sorbo? I don't think I've seen that one. I remember The Apostle, but I did not see The Pastor. Let's see. So I don't know what that one's about. But let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I remember when my friend talked about the Antichrist. It was a scary story. He told me that the Antichrist will be born soon, or maybe he's already born, and the devil will impregnate. Well, here's the problem. First of all, don't panic. Spoiler alert, God wins. So don't panic about that. And it's funny because Corey, our pastor, told a story about this. Because, it's funny. Every 4 years, there's always a group of people that is pointing at one or both of the political candidates and saying that person is the Antichrist. And a little over a decade ago, someone was asking, when he was elected, he was asking Corey if Barack Obama was the Antichrist. And his answer was, hey, somebody shoots him in the head and then he survives just fine, then you can be concerned. But until that, I wouldn't worry about it. Have you read any of the science fiction C.S. Lewis wrote? I have not. I've only read Mere Christianity, which is an excellent book on theology, and the couple of the Narnia books. But I don't read much, honestly, Alex, because of my dyslexia. Reading is a major chore for me. And Wagyu says February filter sweep. I have no idea what that is. So, okay. Trusted says, have you read the Screwtape Letters? It comes across as Christian fiction. A great book, might make a good movie. Written by the guy who wrote Mere Christianity. Well, obviously that would be C.S. Lewis. No, I have not. And Professor Brady Speck says, only kidding around. It's okay, man. It's all good. Daniel says, the devil will impregnate... Oh, that's a continuation from earlier. Yeah, like I said, don't panic. God's going to win. And so, yeah, don't worry about it. Is Field of Dreams about heaven or magic? Don't know. Never seen it. That kind of movie, I'll be honest with you. And that's probably part of the reason I don't watch a lot of Christian movies, is that simple, inspirational dramas, boring to me, right? So whether they're Christian or not, right? So movies are like, based on the inspiring true story of a little white lady that adopted a giant black kid so he could become a great football player. I don't care, and Damien puts in £2, says, my man, you got my name, McColgan. Oh, and the cat did do something.
My man, you got my name, MC Colgan.
MC Colgan. That's it. So you should become a DJ. MC Colgan. There you go. That's your call sign, man, right there. And Darth Maul says, the devil doesn't know when Jesus will return, so it wouldn't be something if he had an Antichrist waiting in the wings should Christ return. Well, I mean, if you... The whole Antichrist... First of all, the Antichrist and that kind of stuff, that happens... if I remember correctly, before Christ's return initially. I don't know. I haven't read Revelation in a little while, but we did a whole study on it at one point. But yeah. But the problem with Revelation is that there's nothing in that book that you can 100% certainly take literally, because it is entirely written in... oh gosh, now I'm forgetting the term because my brain is... I've been working for 12 hours. I can't remember. But the style of writing for it is very, very difficult. And there are literally thousands of PhD level scholars on the Bible that disagree about everything in Revelation. No, not allegory. There is allegory in Revelation, but I'm trying. Is it apocryphal? No. Is it apocryphal? No, not apocryphal. What is the word I'm looking for? I can't believe I'm forgetting because it's something I talked about before. Apocalyptic. Is that it? No. Anyway, whatever it is, the style of writing lends itself to basically everything is written symbolically. And so that's why, like, there are 7 lampstands. It is apocalyptic. Okay, thank you, John. There are 7 lampstands. On the 7 lampstands are 7 of these, and then 6 of these, and then 12 of these, and then all that stuff. It has various meanings, some of which is lost to us today, some of which is actually fairly clear. And so that it just, the problem is without knowing 100% certainty, with 100% certainty on everything, it's very difficult to know exactly how it's going to come down. The main thing to remember, though, is it's, God wins. And let's see. People will try to kill the Antichrist. They will fail. Someone will give the Antichrist a wound no mortal man can survive. So I guess shot in the head. And yeah, well, that's the kind of thing, because at least the way it's described is that the beast will suffer a mortal wound, but then miraculously be healed, right? And so that's one of the big things to keep an eye on. We can't hear the creepy British robo voice. You couldn't hear the creepy British robo voice, really? I didn't know that. So I'll have to look here. Alert box. It says it's on. I will have to mess with that when I get a chance here. Let's see. There's a protest against YouTube copyright system where simple synth filter sweeps can somehow claim all synth demos that do a filter sweep in their demos. Okay, I have no idea what that's about, Wegu. I genuinely have no idea what I know what a synth filter sweep is. So you're saying, like, people that play synths and have a filter sweep in their music are getting censored by YouTube? But what's the point in that? It doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, YouTube has done weirder things in the past, so Lord knows I've fought them enough. Antichrist not human? I would guess that he's human. I thought everyone would see Field of Dreams. We just hates American baseball and apple pie. I'm not a big fan of baseball. The thing about baseball to me is that any sport where the best thing that can happen is nothing is not a particularly great sport to me. So, the ultimate goal in baseball is a no-hitter. In Revelation, the Antichrist, who claims to be Christ, sees perform miracles, arrives before Christ.
I'm here, you are all doomed. My friend Bird-Oakley has built me a fleet of ships, and I will use them to destroy the world.
So, could you hear it that time? If not, the Antichrist donated $1 and says, I'm here, you're all doomed. My friend Bird O'Prey has built me a fleet of ships, and I will use them to destroy the world. Well, in that case, I'm not worried at all. If the ships are all Kurogan, we have nothing to worry about. So, not a problem. Alex wants to know what's your least favorite moment from Godzilla versus Megalon. Every moment that kid is on screen. Daniel says, I brought... and I forgot. And so, yes, but it was... Yeah, the Antichrist is before Christ. So, yeah, I don't think... the devil's waiting for Christ to come back. Andrew, what's your least favorite moment? Oh, I already read that. Let's see. I thought back then, and I still think now, how can God allow the Antichrist to be born? How can he allow the devil to impregnate a woman? Because this is just means to an end to him. Well, you know what? No, you have to ask him. McColgan is my name. Here I always check in from a place on the Irish border where religion is more important to anyone. Well, I've never been to Ireland, but I've always wanted to. So, Donald Trump is the Antichrist to some. He survived COVID after all. Jeez. Yeah, that's true. I don't read much either. I'm legally blind. Find audiobooks to be great alternative to reading. Yeah, the problem with audiobooks is just if you get an unabridged one for a serious novel, that's like, for example, you're going to do an unabridged version of the Foundation series. Yeah, good luck. That's going to take a month to listen to. Dude, that Foundation trailer looks awesome. Glad you mentioned in your last live stream. Yeah, I cannot wait for the Foundation series. It looks like they're actually taking it seriously. So, if you know anything about the Foundation series of books, watch that trailer and tell me that doesn't look awesome. And let's see. Basically, you do a filter suite on YouTube. Then, for example, the Chemical Brothers will claim your video from... Oh, I see. It's like... Well, the problem with that, Wagyu, it's not necessarily Google or YouTube doing it. It would be the people filing the false DMCAs. Because what they'll do is they'll register for a content ID match, and if they just register a simple filter sweep as content, and then every time somebody does that, they file a DMCA automatically... Yeah, that's going to be a problem, but guess what? Those people will end up getting in serious trouble once tens of thousands of people are filing complaints against their DMCAs. But the problem is that people have to be willing to actually file the counter against them. And they're hoping they don't, so that way they can make extra monetization. And let's see, the creepy robot voice is really low. You have to figure that out because according to... I mean, I'm still obviously not an expert with OBS, but according to what I see, it looks like it should be playing at full volume. Let me try... Yeah, that's weird. Turn off the monitor on it. Let me see, make sure that that's the right channel, and I'll try to play that last one again. No. Okay, so
My friend Bert Oakley has been
that's not
audio.
audio.
I will use them to destroy the world.
Bongo cap, video capture. Okay. I see the problem. Fixing it now. All right, so this time it should work.
Antichrist $1. I'm here, you are all doomed. My friend Bird Oakley has built me a fleet of ships and I will use them to destroy the world.
There we go. So, sorry about that. I think I found it. And so, yep, so worked that time. Good. All right, so now everybody give me your money. Come on. Now we fixed it. No? Jerks. All right, so... couldn't hear the creepy line. Got it fixed out. Okay, you should watch Cricket. It's so slow and tedious you can almost feel your hair growing. Why would I want to watch that? And Wogo says, Father, come out to freedom. Okay. Alex says, you and Matthew should riff the BBC-produced 80s Narnia TV movies. They're so cheesy. I haven't seen any of them. Eastwood says... Doomcock says we'll all die from Harvey hitting the button. Ain't never gonna happen. Doomcock doesn't have the balls to let Harvey hit the button. The devil isn't going to impregnate a woman. The Antichrist is merely someone who claims to be Christ. Well, there's also, the funny thing about that, Darren, and I didn't want to get too much in it, because I think people obsess over the Antichrist way too much. Yeah, the Antichrist is really, there's Antichrist capital A, Antichrist lowercase I. Antichrist lowercase a is all over the frickin' place, right? Anytime and the whole idea is just it's anti-Christian, right? That's what Antichrist generally means in the Bible, is anti-Christian. And so right now, that's pretty much 99% of what you see in film and television. That's honestly what lots of people on YouTube like to, all this. For example, you want to talk about spirit of Antichrist? Look at the last election. And I'm not pointing the finger at someone being the capital A Antichrist. I mean the spirit of Christians that are almost literally worshiping Donald Trump or Joe Biden, right? People that are acting like these people are our savior or the ultimate force of destruction, that have shown no sign of faith whatsoever. A Christian that is panicked over the fact that Joe Biden won the election, that's the spirit of Antichrist right there. That is losing the whole. If you actually think that God said, "Uh-oh, we're screwed now, Joe Biden's in office," and you need to rethink your philosophical beliefs. So after what happened last year and so far this year, Antichrist doesn't sound like a bad thing. Wow. Jeez. The devil impregnated son is from Rosemary's Baby and the Omen. I don't think knocking up a chick with his limp... Wow. Alex, yeah, I don't think so either, but yeah. Many Christians will follow the Antichrist, believing him to be Christ. Well, and that's the real danger of it, is the idea of false prophets, false leaders in theological movements. And one of the reasons that, as a Christian, if you are a believer, and I know there's a lot of things we disagree on, whatever church you may go to, whether it's Methodist, Baptist, Catholic, Foursquare, Presbyterian, even Seventh-day Adventist, even Mormons and other, all these different sects of Christianity. No matter where you fall in that, spend time in the Bible and understand what it says, because the more you know the Bible, the easier it is to recognize things that go against the Bible. And the sad thing that you see in society right now is church after church after church teaching and preaching things that are the exact opposite of what the Bible says. Not all of them are as extreme as the Westboro Baptist Church, but the Westboro Baptist Church is a great example of it, And but people and people genuinely believe, and the problem is that groups like that give all of Christianity a bad name. But then there's also Christians that are kind of the opposite of Westboro Baptist Church that are just as dangerous. Christians that want to say, "Oh, do whatever you want. It's okay. Everybody can just do what they want. There's no consequence because all sin is forgiven, and therefore you don't have to even try." That's Antichrist right there. Wager says it's not the chemicals themselves, but hell, the track starts with a filter sweep and that rapes every... No, and if you know what? If they file that as their content and it's matching, it is them. All right? It absolutely is. For example, there was a couple of punks. I can't remember what they were called. They're like a band, and not a particularly good one, but they're this band. And what they do is they submit for copyright ID everything they do on YouTube, right? And so they did a live stream where they were playing, I can't remember the name of the game, but it's one of those, party games that sometimes we play online. And they were playing the game and having a good old time, hanging out, right? And then they submitted that video as part of their content ID for content ID matching. And so all of a sudden, tens of thousands of videos started getting filed claim matches with them because anybody that was playing that game, they claimed a copyright match on. So yes, it is their fault. If they're claiming something like a simple filter sweep as their property, it's them. And so you absolutely should just file a counterclaim anytime you get something like that, especially if it's your own original content. Sounds like the voice is coming through your microphone. Oh, look, you're finally fixed it. Yes. Antichrist from a Jewish background. And is Antichrist from a Jewish background? Because must be several parallels between Antichrist and Jesus Christ. Not necessarily. We don't know. And you know what, Jason? I think you're spending too much time worrying about it. Daniel says, I doubt the Antichrist will be old. Who knows? And that's the thing. I don't think it specifies how old the Antichrist is. So, again, wouldn't worry about it. And that's the problem. There's two problems. And it's funny. There was a Catholic priest that I was talking to about this. He goes, the two biggest problems with the devil is either people focus on him too much or too little. And honestly, you shouldn't be sitting there here, because here's the problem. You should acknowledge the devil's out there, right? You should acknowledge that evil exists. However, as a Christian, you have absolutely nothing to fear from it. There's a wonderful story on that. The founder of the Methodist Church, John Wesley, this was a story about him. I don't know that it's true, but it's a story that used to circulate through the church, which is that one day, John Wesley was he was in bed, he was sleeping, and he woke up in the middle of the night. And he sat up because there was someone in the room. And he looked, and sitting at the foot of his bed was the devil himself. So his reaction was to turn over and go back to sleep. Now, the reason for that story is that if you are a Christian, you have nothing to fear. And even from humanity, you have nothing to fear. Because the worst thing that they can do to you is kill you. And as Paul himself wrote, to die is gain. It's not a bad thing. If they kill you, guess what? You're going to the best possible place you can go. And that's the worst they can do to you. So you do not have to fear them. And guess what? Even if you never meet an evil person in your entire life, sooner or later, you are going to die. And you'll still get to the same place, assuming that you have your theological ducks in a relative row. Now it says, will Hollywood ever make the Antichrist a transgender black female? Probably not. I'm sure that from now on, Hollywood will always make sure that the Antichrist will be a straight white male. Is there any kind of Christians you dislike, Andy Traeger? What kind of Christian friends do you have? I have all sorts of Christian friends. And actually, that's something I like, is that I have Christian friends that have varied beliefs, right? Friends that are pastors in a couple of churches that are not the same kind of church I go to, like a guy named Steve, love him to death. He's pastor at International Church of Christ. Disagree with him on a couple of theological issues very severely, but he's a great guy. Obviously, Pastor Corey at The Experience, from a theological perspective, I pretty much agree with him about 99% of the time. And so that's why I attend that church. But even like, Robert, thank you.
Green, $3. Hey man, what do you think of Texas filing to secede from the USA, cause of election and jobs? I know they do it all the time, but, it's crazier now, lol.
Not going to happen. That's my opinion. I mean, they may file, and thank you, Robert Green, for the $3. I truly, truly appreciate it. I know I don't say it enough, but I really do. When you guys are able to donate, it means the world to me. But Texas filing to secede is like, hey, look, water's wet. They're not going to secede. They're bloviating, they're saber rattling. Nothing's going to happen. And if they do, they're screwed. I hope Life with Matthew moves. So that's, but no, I don't worry about it because, again, I don't believe God says, oops, if Texas secedes, they secede. But anyway, so Dave, as far as, so my Christian friends, varied beliefs. Even just people I know on YouTube, right? Darren Wagner, he and I agree on a lot of stuff. We disagree on a lot of stuff. Me and Life with Matthew, right? I love Life with Matthew. I love Darren. Wesley Crusher is a Christian, and we've talked about stuff. I don't agree with any of them on everything, but we all agree on the core things, right? As far as Christians I dislike, honestly, it just boils down to, because I can't think of that Christian I don't like, right? But it's really a matter of Christian doctrines, particularly people that say things that are in the spirit of Antichrist. For example, condemnation of people that they disagree with, whether it be based on their sexuality or anything else. When they're out there pointing the finger at people and basically behaving virtually identically to the Pharisees of old at the time of Christ, when Christ was chewing out the Pharisees. They're doing the exact same thing over and over and over, and they're not even stopping to think that what they're doing is the exact opposite of what Christ taught us to do. That is what bothers me, is that when I see these Christians preaching hate speech, do we condemn someone because they do something that we don't? No. We try to show them there's a better way, but we don't condemn them. We don't berate them. We don't talk down to them. We love them. We help them. We are kind to them. We offer them any kind of aid that we can. But no, we want to talk down to them. We want to sit there and be dicks. That's the kind of Christian I don't like. And those people, I'm sorry, they are chinos, Christian in name only. They do not understand what being a Christian is. That's my answer. And Darren agrees. There's too much interest in Antichrist, not Christ. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I'm not worried about the Antichrist. I am not worried. Andrew, what's your favorite Picard line and why? There are 4 lights. No, that's honestly, I think my favorite Picard line, and it's from that episode, is when he said that he honestly thought he could see what was it? I can't remember, was it 5 or 3, but yeah, he honestly thought he could see that. It was a powerful moment. Well, the worst thing you can do is torture you for months or years, and then eventually get around to killing you. Well, I know, but you know what I mean. February Filter Suite protests this month, for F's sake. Well, you know what? Like I said, I've never had a problem with that. But then I don't play synthesizer on my YouTube channel. So, yeah. Dio had a lot to say about the matter of religion. Really good stuff, I might add. Well, if you're talking about the rock band Dio, don't. Oh, man, that's a whole other topic. The end is coming for all of us that were born. We will die. We have a choice in between. The world is going to end at some point, and I doubt we have control enough to prevent it. Oh, yeah, the world will end. It's just a matter of, and that's the funny thing. People obsess over, is it going to happen next week? Look, it might not happen till, next millennium, next dozen millenniums. We don't know. And the idea is, you should behave as though the world is going to continue to spin on, but you should also behave and be prepared for it to end right now. Do you have any Jehovah's Witnesses friends? Not currently. I did have a very good friend when I was living in California who was a Jehovah's Witness, and he and I used to regularly have lunch and debate theology, and it was a lot of fun. The Jedi Bill guy worries me. I think he's D.B. Cooper. Jedi Bill is insane, but I love him. And see. Why does Texas think they're so tough? They couldn't even win with 12 other states on their side during the Civil War. Oh, jeez. I'm not going to touch that one. Alexander says, hello. How you doing, my friend? Steve Rogers says, wow, Ed Trigger's preaching. That's right. I'm a preaching today. Favorite Picard lines, make it so. I always thought the mark of the beast as being a brand on an animal like a steer, a mark that brands you as a beast. Yeah, I know a lot of people, like, it's so funny because that's another one that people are always like, oh, they're going to tattoo you that you have the COVID vaccine, and the tattoo mark is going to be a 666, and that's the mark of the... Oh, God. Yeah. Tom says, if the afterlife is better than life, why don't we just destroy ourselves? Interesting question, and you should read Paul's work on that. He's actually talked about that in some detail. And honestly, the truth is because God has things for you to do on this earth. And so you should not depart ahead of schedule. Your time will come, but it's to commit suicide. And if you think about this, Thomas, the reason, I know that the Catholic Church says, oh, it's a mortal sin, you ought to automatically go to hell, whatever. That's not in the Bible, but hey, whatever. But The thing about suicide, that is an ultimately selfish act. That is about the most selfish thing you can possibly do. Because of the good that you can do in this world. And I'll tell you, Thomas, and this is absolute truth here, regardless of where you stand on a religious scale, the interesting thing about Christian philosophy is that if you follow it, you can't help but enjoy life more. It's almost impossible to not enjoy life if you're dedicated to helping other people. When you're actually in the act of just selflessly helping someone, you cannot help but have joy in your heart. And that's true regardless of if you have a religious belief in it or not. It's simply a fact. Helping other people feels good. And unfortunately, though, what people have gotten wrapped up in is pleasure as opposed to joy. And so that's why we get so obsessed over sexuality and stuff like that, because we're thinking about nothing but raw physical pleasure. And we think about me. If only I could get more stuff. If I had this, if I had that, if I had this, I would be more complete. And guess what happens when you get it? You want something else. You can never satiate your desire, but you can absolutely experience joy by being selfless. And suicide is the ultimate act of selfishness. So, no, you should not do it, ever. Tressa says, I have to fear, I have ways to go on. Let's see. I have to fear, I have ways to go on that one, but there is hope. Well, and the thing about fear, look, there's different types of fear, right? Like, and what the Bible really talks about is the worrisome nature of people. It's not that, like, hey, if you have a bull rhino charging at you and you go, oh crap, and you're afraid, that's a perfectly natural, normal, instinctive reaction. However, if you sit in your house and you're worried all day long as to whether or not a rhino is going to charge you, that doesn't do you any good. You know, and so there's imminent danger, that's the fear-threat reaction, and then there's worrisomeness. There's constantly being obsessed over what's wrong in life. And we've seen that not just what's wrong in my life, but oh my gosh, I can't believe this person is president, or I can't believe that person is president, or I can't believe that they're going to impeach him, or I can't believe that they didn't impeach him before, and all this crap that we get all worked up about, we got all worried about, and guess what? We have zero control over it, and worrying about it does not make you better in any way. Let's see. To get Tricker's attention, it helps to do the anti. Yes, I'm sorry if I missed a chat that was addressed to me, you got to put the anti-Tricker in there, or I will miss it, especially when I fall a little bit behind in the chat. And then there's and it's at Calcium. I'm not sure, but how you doing? And I asked a weird question. Do you believe that there's a difference between a devil worshiper and a Satanist? Yes. Satanists are a very real, organized group. Devil worshippers are something you see in the movie. That, honestly, people running around worshiping Satan, in order to do that, you would have to have a serious mental illness. But as far as to do it in a genuine fashion. As far as Satanism, yeah, that's basically an atheistic system where it's just a spirit. They believe in the spirit of Satan, in the idea of challenging religious doctrine, in the idea of living your life the way you want to be hedonistic, to be selfish, to live your best life. That's what they believe in. And honestly, from a humanistic nature, it makes perfect sense. And even Paul wrote that. Hey, if there's no God, eat, drink, be merry. My granny studied and got a degree in theology in her 70s. I have a great video of her collecting her degree, but before she died, she didn't think there was life. But before she died, she didn't think there was life after death. Well, it's not a matter of, and that's honestly kind of an interesting one, because is that a major or a minor as far as theology? if you're, I think I actually would consider it a minor, because if you believe in the salvation of Christ, and you believe and you're doing Christ's wishes, you're loving God, you're loving your neighbor, you're doing and you accept that Christ died for your sins, then she might be surprised when she gets up in an afterlife, but I hope it's a positive one. I don't know for certain, but I think it's possible. But because I also think it would be very difficult to believe in the salvation of Christ if you don't believe that there's life after death, because what would the point of salvation be? But that's a whole other topic. Balti Gunman says, how's it going? I'm hanging in there, my friend. Darren says, I often wonder about those people who jumped off the World Trade Center on 9/11, faced with burning to death or being crushed to death versus jumping out a window for an angel. Yeah, man, that was a no-win scenario there. I can't say as, wow, how do you deal with it? I mean, those people, man, my heart goes out to them and their families. I would presume that even if, like, let's say the Catholic doctrine of suicide being a mortal sin is 100% true, I don't think that would necessarily qualify as suicide. If you're going to die and you basically said, okay, choice number 1, burn to death. Choice number 2, you fall, splat, you're gone, instant kill. I would probably go for the fall, splat, instant kill. That sounds better. But I don't think that would be really classified as suicide. But I don't know. Richie says, doesn't the afterlife have its own class system? How's that any different than life here? Good question. It does kind of indicate, so there's 2 judgments that take place. The first is whether or not you are condemned or saved. The second is basically you're judged based on your works, right? And that's where you kind of get, hey, are you going to get a deluxe mansion, or are you going to get an average home? That kind of thing. And as far as it being different than life here, it's hard to say, because again, the only real vivid descriptions of it we get are in Revelation, and even then it's very general and it's very high level stuff. But the general gist of it is that there's a new world, a new universe, if you will, to explore, and it sounds like a better place than this one, because unlike this world, it will not be cursed. And that's the big problem with this world, is that we live in a cursed earth. And Fleetpaw, thank you so much, drops $5 in. We'll wait for our disembodied voice to read it. And of course, it's going to take a while, so I'll read a couple of chats while we're waiting. In the Bible, one of the apostles asked Christ, when will we know when the time is near? And Christ, you'll see words and reports on words. There have been since the dawn of time. Well, that's true. Christ talks about some of the signs, but you know what? Like I said, it has been and there we go, fine.
Fleetpaw Swiftback $4.99. Just dropping by, it'd been a few. As for Christian media, I do like music. I try to listen to Clove all the time, but motion media is give or take. I
agree. And well, K-Love is a little light. Like there was another Christian radio station in Portland that we liked more than K-Love, because they had, I like a lot of Christian music. There's a lot of good Christian music. And unfortunately, though, movies hit and miss. But yeah, and thank you, Fleetpaw. I truly appreciate it, and good to see you. If you could only stop by for a minute, I understand, but you are always welcome here, my friend. Let's see, where were we? Oh yeah, so Daniel, as far as wars and rumors of war and all that, honestly, the end times began 2,000 years ago. Okay, it has been the period of the end times since the death of Christ. We do not know the date, the time that the true end of the end times is coming, the tribulation and all that stuff. We don't know the date. And Christ said even he didn't know at that time what the date was. We only knew it was coming. Now, the only time you were not in the end times was prior to Christ's death. So from the creation of the earth all the way up to 2,000 years ago was not the end times. Now it is. And let's see. With Desire, there's Van Hale song. So right now that says the more you get, the more you want. That's 100% true, by the way. Yes, the more you get, the more you want. The only fear I have is Turdistanis. They have Ferengi Romulan hybrids of the real world. They are the Ferengi Romulan hybrids of the real world. Wow, well, that's just mean. Steve says worrying about it does not make you better in any way. Well, yep. When I hear so and so person has privilege or gender or this is race and that, I'm beginning to think most of these people, hey man, may mean blessed. It's leading to unhappiness. It's leading to... So a person has privilege or this gender or this race. So, I've heard people try to say, like, substitute the word privilege for blessing and stuff, like white blessing and stuff. And that sounds horrible. I'm not going to lie. I think that kind of stuff is just trying to seed animosity between groups. And that's the opposite of what Christ wanted. He doesn't want us to be angry at other people just because they may have more or may have less. That doesn't make them better or worse people. You should not hate the rich because they're rich, and you shouldn't despise the poor because they're poor. There's a witch walking around outside Matthew's Dolphin Research Center in my Minecraft city I'm building. Should I kill it or let it live? Well, considering that Matthew is a Wiccan, you should probably let it live. Wiggy says, I told her I didn't know and she would find out, but personally I don't think there's anything. I'm a scientist. Our consciousness is all in our brain. Well, I disagree with you, but hey, we are all entitled to our opinions, and I wish you well. Dreamers out there says, I hope you are well tonight. I'm doing pretty good. I'll say War Room was a good movie. I haven't seen that one either, but I remember hearing about that one. That's one. I know that was a Christian movie, but I don't really know much about it. So let's see. What is it about? War Room. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is about. But anyway. I've heard it's good, though. As far as Christian music, I like the band Jars of Clay. Oh, Mrs. Antrea loves Jars of Clay. At least one of their CDs from back in the day. I liked DC Talk. I like KJ52. He's a lot of fun. T-Bone is fun. There's a lot of talent in the Christian music, but unfortunately not so much in Christian filmmaking. And let's see. And Daniel says, what if a person is disabled and can't help think, and he can't help think the way he does? Will God have mercy on him, say if he does, may not be the best Christian or may not be a Christian at all? That's an interesting question. And honestly, Daniel, I don't know the full answer to that. If a person is, say, mentally ill, right? Now, and thank you, Alexander.
Alexandra Pulio Robege, $2 Canadian. ASEAN Muslim wife born in USSR is the best choice.
ASEAN? ASEAN? Is that what she said? ASEAN? Welcome, Alexander. Anyway, the question, and that's actually, if a person is, what if you have a person that's born with literally a defective brain? They can't process information properly and that kind of thing. And I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to be honest. Don't know. I do know that if you are capable, because I'll tell you this much, is that, at least according to the Judeo-Christian tradition, that until you reach the age of decision, which in the classical age, like pre-Christ, was about 12, 13 years old, when you would have your bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, or the Jewish ceremony of going into adulthood. Until you reach that age, then you were considered basically you had a free ticket, and that you were automatically good. And I would tend to think that someone that was mentally incapable of processing the very concept of God would fall into that category. But honestly, Daniel, I don't know. What I do know is that if you are capable of understanding it, then you got a choice to make. And and I understand people say, well, God needs to prove himself to me. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. God of the universe doesn't have to do anything. So yeah. And Alexander. Oh, Alexander, I missed you, my friend. And and let's see. Thomas says there's been a coup in Myanmar, also known as Burma. The military took over. Wow, I did not hear about that.
Alexandra Pulio Robage $2 Canadian. Everyone wants MCU Aunt May and Ked now. Right now.
Oh, Sander, I know you certainly do, but I don't think everyone does. And let's see. Black Delegation says, thank you, Anti-Checker, for not endorsing the phrase white blessing. Yeah, I do not like that. And besides that, you know what? Like I said, and this is again getting back to the what is a Christian as opposed to what we're seeing out there. Identity, sexual identity, political identity, racial identity. You know what that stuff means in the eyes of God and Christ? Zero. Nothing. Irrelevant. And by the way, that's in the Bible. Directly. So, that there is not Jew nor Gentile, nor man nor woman, nor rich nor poor. None of that stuff matters. And we obsess over it. We all want to find our identity. I am a, transgender potato or whatever. That's... No. And the problem is, and I understand, like a lot of... If you're not a Christian, doesn't really apply to you. But as a Christian, your only identity is Christian. And dang it, you need to start acting like it. But unfortunately, that's something that we don't do. And I'm trying to be better myself. I've struggled with that a little myself. But hey, I will continue to try. God ain't done with me yet. Professor Brady's back says, wow, Matthew is a Wiccan. Yes, indeed. You can ask him. He'll tell, tomorrow night's the virtual pub. Ask him tomorrow night. You should come on. Professor, we haven't had you on the virtual pub the last couple times. Please come on, man. We love you. And so you're always fun to hang out with. Dave says, I saw a pic where they were filming WandaVision. I saw Agnes in a pic of the filming. No spoilers. I think it's safe to say she's not who she says she is. Well, I think that, if you've been watching the show, you probably already figured that out. Confirmed, Anti-Checker is a transgender potato. Yeah. I should have said that. All right, guys. So I am going to wrap it up. But I just want to encourage you guys. I truly do. I hope and pray that each one... And I will tell you, you know what? Me and Mrs. Anti-Trekker, and this is something... If you're married and you're a Christian, let me say this to you. Pray with your spouse. Pray with your spouse.
Fleetpaw Swiftback $4.99.
Thank you, Fleetpaw.
Christianity has gotten away from what Christ taught emo. We're quick to condemn but hesitant to love and even less likely to forgive.
You are 100% right about that, Fleetpaw. And that's part of the reason that I'm doing these live streams, because I want to try to be better about that. And I ask you guys to hold me accountable as much as I want to show you guys this is what a Christian should be doing, and we're not doing it. And I'm as guilty as anybody else, and that's why I've been trying to be more positive. I've been trying to, and that's why I kind of divorced myself from the Phantom Menace. I cannot, as a Christian, sit there and just attack just for the sake of hate. I'm not going to do that. And so But thank you, Fleet Pod. It means the world to me, but you are 100% right. But, yeah. Wago says, what do you think of the flying spaghetti monster? I find it offensive, quite frankly. But, hey. People... And the funny thing about it, because here's the thing about the Think a Drink, Darren. The flying spaghetti monster is... nobody... and I know there are atheists. Oh, well, we believe in the flying spaghetti monster. We really do. Yeah, we believe we're pastafarians and all this crap.
Alexandra Pulio Robege, $2 Canadian. Barbed wire is a masterpiece. This is a fact.
Oh, man. I've not seen barbed wire, and I don't plan to. Oh, man. So, but... Wait, the flying spaghetti monster is, it's one of those things where like various atheists, they try to say, oh, well, you see, it's just as legitimate as Yahweh. It's just as legitimate as any other religion. And it's like, no, because you know what? The number of people that actually believe in the flying spaghetti monster is 0. It was an invention to simply be a dick about talking about religion. So, anybody that tries to use that as an actual argument ends the argument, because I'm not going to have that conversation with someone. Unfortunately, as much as I love him to death, and I still do, and I wish he was still around hanging on my channel, but, he didn't like it. But, that's one of the reasons that Mr. Miles doesn't edit my videos anymore, because he and I really got into it over the flying spaghetti monster, because he thinks it's a completely legitimate and wonderful way to argue, and I think that it is nothing but being a dick. And so, anyway, it's plain and simple. One is being born with a ding-a-ling, then you're a male. One is born with a hole between your legs and you're a female. Wow. That's one way to put it. And Daniel says the last cast we had was fun, although we didn't talk. I didn't talk very much. I got things to say, but I'm worried about how they could be potential spoilers. And I doesn't like that. Yeah, I don't. The thing about it, Daniel, is that I love, like with WandaVision, I like experiencing it as it comes. If somebody told me right now how it ends, I would have a difficult time with that. And so. I don't want to know, because I'm really enjoying the show. I wonder how good she is at pronouncing Alexander's name. Yeah, I don't know, Alexander. If you're listening, how's that pronunciation of your name? Does that sound pretty good? Because I never even try to pronounce your name, because I just say Alexander, because the rest of it is crazy. I don't think the flying spaghetti monster is offensive. It's just tasteless. I don't give the people who talk about the power to offend me. Well, I say it is offensive. Am I like, oh my goodness, I can't? No. I mean, I'm not a prude. I'm not gonna, I don't lose sleep over it or anything. But I'm also the point about it, Darren, is that I do not engage people in conversation about it. If you want to start arguing the flying spaghetti monster is just as legitimate as Yahweh, goodbye. We're done. And because I'm not going to have that conversation. I'm not going to legitimize that line of argumentation, because all that is doing is trying to equate something that is a cartoon character to something that people take as the most important thing in their lives. And yeah, I wouldn't do that. By the way, I wouldn't do that to other people as well. Like, as far as, like, I wouldn't mock Buddha in a similar fashion, or Muhammad, or any other religious icon, right, that people take seriously. Now, I can disagree all day long with some of these things, but at the same time, if you want to, have that conversation, you have fun with it, because I'm not going to engage. Were you ever a DJ or mix music? No, at least not paid. And yeah, Darren, Mr. Miles, I love Mr. Miles. I miss him terribly, but he and I, man, we would fight all day long on Skype about stuff like that. And Wegu, if you can't be respectful, don't. I'm not going to read that comment because that's not. You can either say Jesus or more correctly Yeshua, but I am that kind of thing. Sorry, that's not cool. Sad to hear about that, Mr. Miles. It is. I miss the guy. I really do. She missed the ut. She doesn't pronounce the T, so the T should be pronounced. So the let's see. Would you mock a Satanist? No. Not at all. I mean, as far as like, and we talked about it earlier. As far as I understand exactly what the Satanic Church believes in, and from a humanistic standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Eat, drink, be merry, do what you will, as long as you don't harm another person. Everything is good. That's their core beliefs. And you know what? If I didn't believe in God, I would have no problem with that whatsoever, and I would think it was awesome. I probably wouldn't join because I think it was stupid, but I don't have a problem with the philosophy from a humanistic level. Notice how the spaghetti people never direct that argument towards Muslims. I wonder why that is. Good question. Wegu says, I'm a noob as far as religion goes. Well, here's the thing about it. If you're going to discuss something, and honestly, Wegu, this, and I'm not trying to pick on you any more than anybody else, but the way that it works, if you want to discuss something with someone that is a deeply serious and important thing in their lives, don't start out by making it into a joke. All right, so if you're going to engage a Christian and you're like, you don't believe or you think Christianity is silly or whatever, then you can say, hey, you know what? I don't believe in Christianity. To me, it seems silly. Can you tell me why you believe in whatever you think is silly about it? And, amazingly, about 99% of the time, whatever you think they may believe, a lot of time isn't necessarily what they believe. And so, there's that. And then other things, there are differing opinions within Christianity. Christianity is a very diverse group of people. There are Christians that believe that the earth is 6,000-7,000 years old. There are Christians that believe that the earth is 4 billion years old, right? And everything in between. There are Christians that believe in evolution. There are Christians that do not. There are Christians that believe in a combination of evolution and creation. There's a million different beliefs out there about it. So so there's, you want to approach it from basically being, listening, asking questions, getting information, as opposed to accusing people of stuff, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you are, but that's part of the reason that I used to be involved in what was referred to as the Great Debate on YouTube, where there were Christians and atheists who were constantly doing videos back and forth to each other. And I dropped out of that eventually because I got tired of the same old arguments over and over, and I got tired of both sides mocking the other. And it was just stupid. So, anyway, let's see. I'm offended by no subscriber streams. Thomas, I know that's something that I'm actually, just so you know, Thomas, I am actually working on a plan right now. Part of the reason that those short videos are coming out every single day, that is a part of this multi-tiered plan that I'm working on. Once I get a certain level of those done, and then I have a couple of my long format videos in the can, then I'm going to start looking at doing a better live stream schedule and put some energy into that. But right now I'm trying to put some energy into the produced stuff, and yeah, more on that later. Dan says, so I guess the hippies were bad people because they were telling people to leave the churches and places of worship and be free and make premarital sex and do what you want. Well, that's basically the Antichrist way, right? Do what you want. Do what you will. And, I'm not saying that the hippies were bad people, but I disagree with them. I think their philosophy is bad. And that's something we got to be careful of. I know the old saying is hate the sin, love the sinner, but we don't do it, right? That would be great if we could actually pull that off. it's okay to disagree with someone without hating that person. I know the internet, like, wow, people's brains are melting, but it's 100% true. We should love the person 100% of the time, and we can absolutely disagree 100% with what they're saying or doing, but still love them. Wig says, it's not a joke. I've been baptized. Okay, that's fine, but I'm just saying that that's not a line of argumentation that I engage in. I was waiting for a bit. What happened to Mr. Miles? Mr. Miles and I, unfortunately, had a little bit of a falling out. He was very angry with me because I wouldn't compromise on a few things. We also had some fundamental disagreements as far as how to do the videos. I felt that we needed more of a timetable. He felt that he should take as long as he wanted to make it done right, but sometimes that meant taking weeks or even months to get a video done. And, and then he basically just stopped showing up when we would be talking on Skype, and haven't heard from him in a long time, except for he popped in on a live stream like a week or two ago, and it was cool to see him, but, I miss him, love him to death. He's a great editor, and I know that someone said he did a video for Vile Mike recently, which is cool. I hope that, that helps his channel. But I think, honestly, the part of the core problem there with us is that Mr. Miles really found my beliefs disturbing, because he's a hardcore atheist, and that's cool. I don't hate people that are atheists, but I think that he had a real problem with me not being willing to back down on my beliefs at all. Back in the 60s, people of faith were looking at hippies and writing youth are going to hell. Yeah, well, people are still doing that. I remember historian Aslan Raisa, or however you say it, saying on CNN that there's a difference between Korean and the Quran and the Bible is Muslims believe Allah wrote the Quran, while Christians do not believe God wrote the Bible. Well, that person is kind of an idiot. But hey, whatever. Alexander says, I saw a comedy horror where Jesus resurrected Lazarus as a zombie, and after that he needs to fight zombies helped by Judas using multiplied fishes. That makes no sense whatsoever. Darth Bell says, how are those treks through Trek doing? Will they continue? I'm going to continue at least through the original series and see if they catch on a little bit. The problem with a series like this is really that you can't judge it until it's been out for a little while. Like, as people come in and, like, let's say that, part 25 is out and somebody has never seen it before is like, oh, this is fun. So then they go to the playlist and they watch the whole thing, right? And so if people start doing that, then I'll see that growth in the channel. If they don't, then after I'm done with the original series, that'll probably be it. However, the series about the rules, the Admiral of Doom rules of life, that will continue through all 200 rules. That's already a commitment that I made to Admiral Doom's widow. My hippies of the 1960s, many hippies of the 1960s were Christians. Well, they were to call them Christians was kind of a stretch, but they thought, oh man, God's in everything. Everything is good, but that's cool. Rich says, Mr. Miles often joins us on Vile Mike's Sunday morning live streams, and that's cool. And so I hope he has a blast over there. I love Mr. Miles. I truly do. And, I understand that, I can be difficult sometimes. He can be difficult sometimes. We bumped heads a lot, which is too bad because I think he's a very talented individual. As a Satanist, I'm glad you don't see me as a devil worshiper. Also, I agree with you as Star Trek not being Roddenberry alone, but DC, Fontana, and others as well. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that as far as Satanism is concerned, nobody worships the freaking devil. That doesn't make any sense. That's something that Hollywood likes to portray Satanism as. But yeah, the Church of Satan has nothing to do with, it's not, it's not the anti-Christian religion. It's barely a religion. Well, there are a lot of Christians who don't believe God wrote the Bible. It's not what they should believe, but they do. In that sense, the person was correct. Otherwise, idiot. Well, and that's a problem. In fact, that's something that Corey mentioned in church this weekend. is, only like 40, I think it's like 41%, according to a recent survey, of Christians. Now, keep in mind, only at this point, only about 60% of Americans identify as Christians, and only about 41% of those Christians believe that the Bible is actually the Word of God. And it's like, wow. So, yeah. But that doesn't surprise me. Honestly, I think that, Christianity will eventually die out, and woe to the world when that happens. Sunday nights are difficult now. I miss the Admiral. I know, man. I know. And, yeah, that's rough. He was great. So far, my favorite Admiral Doom rule is the first one. If you're going to get laid, you're going to get screwed. There are some really good ones that I love, and I can't wait to get to them. 129 is a great one, which is why I have it, there. But, yeah, there's a lot of them. And there's 200 in total. And thanks to Admiral Doom's widow, I do have the complete list. And thank you to those that helped me get that list, and because there were a couple of people involved in that, so thank you. It was funny to watch Jesus create a sawfish and used it as a chainsaw against the zombies. That's crazy.
Harry Sher $5. Blessings, good health, good fortune, and happiness, youngster.
Thank you so much, Harry. I always love it when you call me youngster. That's my favorite part of the day. See, that's the only reason I hadn't stopped the show yet, is because I was waiting for Harry to call me a youngster. So I truly, truly appreciate it. And John says, I'm sorry to say a lot of people are only Christian in the sense they go to church on Sunday, so that statistic doesn't surprise me. Yeah, and that's another sad thing. Like, your average Christian attends church once or twice per month. And, the Bible says you're supposed to go to church. Now, I understand. We're in the modern age. Some people, myself included, have a work schedule to where you just can't attend. I work a 12-hour shift on Saturday and Sunday. But fortunately for me, our church does do live streams, so I can watch it after work. And also, now Mrs. Anti-Trekker and Joshua, they go every single week. And anytime, like, I can take a half a day off. I can flex out some of my time once a month and stuff. So I'll still go when I can. I just can't go every week. But it is truly sad that nobody takes church seriously. And another thing is that everybody should be serving in some way. But we don't. We keep thinking, and it's funny because Christians are so not Christian. They think that, it's offensive to them that the church wants them to share their resources to help others. And it's like, really? You're going to, oh, God doesn't need my money. It's like, no, but you know what? That homeless guy that's starving to death, he sure could use some. And, the churches are supposed to be helping people. Churches are supposed to be reaching out and making a difference in our community, not building giant monuments to God and paying pastors exorbitant salaries. And that's, one of the things I absolutely love about our church is that I make more money than the lead pastor of our church. And I don't make a lot of money. So, that's, and believe me, with the amount of money our church collected, he could definitely pay himself several times what he's making. Dan says, Alexander Dumas said, if God were suddenly condemned to live a life which he has inflicted upon men, he would kill himself. Well, I would disagree with that. Wago says, I went to church maybe 20 years ago. Well, time to catch up, my friend. But the trick is, honestly, you need to...
Fleetpaw Swiftback $1.99. Cough cough Joel Olstein cough cough.
Don't get me started about Joel Osteen, prosperity gospel nonsense and stuff like that. Yeah. Joel Osteen and, that is gaudy. That is not Christianity. Anybody who is elevated, it's funny because, and this is another example of what I was talking about earlier, where Christians doing the exact opposite of what Christ said. Christ told his disciples, the leaders of the church, to humble themselves, because if you exalt yourself now, you will be humbled in heaven. If you humble yourself now, you will be exalted in heaven. And what do these people like Joel Osteen do? I mean, I hope that Joel Osteen and others like him are atheists, because that's the only way to explain how they're doing the exact opposite of what the Bible says, and with a straight face. But yeah. Anyway, here in Australia, you're in Australia, very cool. Nearly everyone is Catholic, but it's all only tradition and rituals and part of the culture. Most people are, in fact, atheist, agnostic. Yeah, the Catholic Church has got a real problem with that. People that just are Catholic because their family is Catholic. But yeah. You work a 75-hour work week. Wow, I don't know what you do, man, but I don't want your job because I can barely handle the hours I work. And let's see. Wager says, went to visit my mother Granny's grave a few years ago. I visited my mother's grave once, and that was right after she died. You know what? Graveyards, they're, to me, not a place to hang out. I don't visit people at a graveyard. A graveyard is where their remains are, or a headstone and their name is, not the person. God doesn't like rude atheists who attack others with a smile on their face because other love what they hate. Have fun where you're going, matcha. Not sure exactly what you mean, but you know what? It's not about God liking or not liking. Honestly. And Daniel, and this is a problem that a lot of Christians have. Don't worry about the atheists. They'll take care of themselves. Worry about you. Or as Christ said, don't worry about the speck in your brother's eye. Remove the plank from your own. Darth Maul says, televangelism, we're the first church live streams. Well, the difference between me and the televangelist is, number one, I'm not rich. Number two is I don't live in a mansion. I don't have a jet. I barely have, I guess you could kind of call this a studio. It's just a room where I work and also do this. But honestly, it's what is the purpose of their ministry? And I'll be honest with you. I know some people think, and I've gotten from people, both Christians and non-Christians, people I know and love and trust, have told me, my God, Michael, don't do it. Don't keep doing the church thing on your YouTube channel. Google hates Christians. They're gonna, your channel's gonna continue to bleed subscribers. It'll wither into nothingness. And you know what? From a worldview, worldly view perspective and everything, you're 100% right. And I know a couple of you are in this chat right now. But I follow a higher authority, and that higher authority says that you do not put a lamp under a bushel. That you shine it for all to see. And so, no, I am not, even if if Google and YouTube, through their algorithm and their crap, want to slowly dwindle my channel down to where there's 20 people subscribed to this channel, and those 20 people are still showing up on Sunday nights, well, then I guess that's what we're going to have. But I genuinely believe that if I'm doing, that God will take care of me. I don't know how. I hope I can pay the mortgage next month, but God will take care of me. I don't know how I'm going to pay the mortgage next month, but I hope I can. And I'm pretty sure that God is more concerned about my mortgage than he's concerned about Google. So at least I hope so. Yes, you have to accept God rather than the Ten Commandments. I would say that you should work to follow the teachings of Jesus. Well, yeah. And you start with what Christ calls the greatest commandment. Love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. Love your neighbor as yourself. And who is your neighbor? Everyone. Olstein has a spot reserved for him in hell. Waste no tears on him. He deserves only our pity and prayers. Well, Flea Paul, I don't know that he's going to hell. I just know that he says some things that are just plain wrong. And you're an audio video technician. Wow. Well, in that case, I'm kind of jealous because I would love to do what you do for a living then probably. But unfortunately, no such luck. Wagu says, so I'm more religious than you. What, because you went to church 20 years ago? That don't make you more religious than me. You know, me and Mrs. Anninger have been married longer than that. We've been going to church together for longer than that. Yeah. Sadly, I think many of those false teachers actually started with authentic good intentions. Oh, I agree. As far as like most people don't get into ministry because they have evil plans, but when it becomes about money, that's why the Bible doesn't say the love of money is evil. It says the love of money is the root of many evils. And what happens is that people get obsessed with or not that money isn't evil, but the love of money is the root of much evil. And the problem is that people become so obsessed with it because you get a lot of money and boy, you want a lot more money. And you start living that rich, lavish lifestyle and you want to amp it up. And before you know it, you've lost sight on what you were doing. And so I truly feel for Joel Osteen. I hope that one day he sees the error of his ways, repents, and humbles himself. Steve says, please, I'm never going to finish this live stream. Please talk about, can a Christian disagree with the Bible? Thanks. My opinion is that yes, they can disagree because it is normal to agree or disagree naturally as a mental process. Oh, well, that's actually an interesting question. Can a Christian disagree with something in the Bible? Absolutely, 100% yes. However, you are also to submit to what the Bible says. You don't have to agree with it 100%. You just have to follow it. And maybe eventually you'll understand the wisdom of it if it's something that you think is, for example, a lot of people get hung up on the sexuality thing, right? The Bible makes it pretty clear that, first of all, sex outside of marriage is not okay. Second of all, that sexual practices other than heterosexuality is not okay, right? So people have a big issue with that. That's the subject of a lot of debate, right? Now, here's the problem. As a Christian, let's say that you happen to struggle with that a little bit. You're attracted to people of the same gender. And so you may disagree with that statement that you shouldn't practice that. But you still shouldn't practice it. Just because you don't like it, just because you may personally disagree with it, it doesn't mean that you don't submit to it. Because the Bible is from a higher authority than you. And Thomas says, Mrs. Antitricker is your higher authority. I love Mrs. Antitricker to death, but no, God is my higher authority. Your channel hasn't bled subscribers, but surely has kept a steady pace and kept the faith. Actually, the funny thing is, Darth Maul, no, the channel has bled subscribers a few times, and it's really frustrating because I understand it's the frickin' algorithm, right? Google doesn't like small channels, and even though my channel is, hey, 14,000 subs, that's a lot of people, but that's small compared to, obviously, I don't have hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers like a lot of these channels. And so YouTube doesn't give a crap about channels that are less than 100,000 subs. We mean nothing to them. And so, and I think it's going to ultimately spell the end of YouTube eventually. But but for right now, they have all the power and they're going to do that. But, I believe in something bigger than Google. Sorry, let me rephrase that. God doesn't like rude atheists who attack others with a smile on their face because others love what they hate. Have fun where you're going, Mecca. Oh, Mecca and Nerdrotic. Well, first of all, I don't know Mecca and Nerdrotic are atheists or what. I haven't talked to them about their theological beliefs. But I think, Daniel, you've got the wrong attitude right there. So you need to check yourself on that. Don't worry about what God thinks of Mecca and Nerdrotic. Do you know who needs to worry about that? Mecca and Nerdrotic, not you. And I'm being 100% serious here, Daniel. Don't worry about where somebody other than you is going after they die. Doesn't matter. It's not you. Why does Google suppress Christian content? It's not offensive. It is to them. Because Google genuinely believes that Christianity is hate speech. And, that's what it was. Wegu says, I was a choir boy at Trigger. It was hilarious. I don't know what you look like, so I can't picture you as a choir boy. But my mom's family is very Catholic. So, if you meant choir boy in a Catholic sense, that's an altar boy. But I actually have a couple of cousins that were altar boys in the Catholic Church and stuff. But, I was never an actual Catholic. My mom was excommunicated. Lost his sight like that pastor asking for what? A private jet for God, emphasis on the lowercase g. Yeah, and that kind of thing, man, it bothers me when I see that, and I pray for those people. I do. Oh, I want to say, so when I said earlier, so if you are married, you should absolutely pray daily with your spouse. Me and Mrs. Anti-Checker pray together every day. And every single day in my prayers, I mention you guys. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, but I'm saying you should pray for people you care about. And so every day as a part of my daily prayers, I ask God to take care of my YouTube subscribers and supporters, because you guys are such a blessing to us, and you're the only reason that we have our home still. And let's see. And 80% of my fellow technicians in my industry are gotten COVID, and I'm doing the job of 4 in the body of 1, so 75 hours. That makes sense then. Man, I'm sorry, but at least it will probably be a temporary thing. You have to follow the 10 Commandments of the Old Testament. Good deeds are louder than words or good mere intentions. You should walk to walk, not just talk to talk. Well, and that's the funny thing. Like, a lot of people say, 10 Commandments don't matter. No, they absolutely do. All right, the law of Moses doesn't go away just because of Jesus. But the first thing that you need to do is understand the basics of what Jesus taught, which is to love God and love your neighbor. That's number one. Then you start getting a little bit deeper. And one thing that, it's not that you're, I know that there's all argument about works and all that, but you're not saved by works, but you're not saved from works either. And in fact, if you're not doing good works, then you're probably not saved. And it doesn't mean that the works save you. It means that if you are saved, you should be doing that. Now, Fleepo says, you're woefully undersubbed, just like Trek Yards. Well, I do agree. Trek Yards is definitely woefully undersubbed. And I hope one day the channel's more successful. If it's not, it isn't. If it is, it is. I hope it is, but we'll find out. Richie says, I thought you were going to wrap this up 30 minutes ago. I was, but you guys just keep asking interesting questions, but I'm definitely going to be wrapping up in a second here. If you were part of the creatives at Toho, what sort of Godzilla would you write, produce, or direct? Honestly, Alex, I kind of like the new American series, the Legendary series. I think it's pretty solid. I always thought the people don't have souls. They are souls. So when they die, they should don't go to paradise. They go to paradise. It makes more sense. Their soul doesn't go to paradise. They go to paradise. Makes more sense. I assume you mean Sean Connery went there. Well, the soul is just what we refer to as the non-physical part of whatever we are. You mentioned 10,000 subscribers, all by name. No, actually, Thomas, I simply say, just like I did to you guys, my YouTube subscribers and supporters. Although when I know about a specific thing, I will mention specifics. But generally, every day when I pray with Mrs. Anti-Checker, we pray for all of the subscribers as a general rule. Alex says, Dear Anti-Checker, what's your opinion on Prince of Egypt? Guff Goldblum voiced Aaron. I liked Prince of Egypt. It was a good movie. Still, Aaron did not get the credit he deserves as far as a character. He's always been underwritten. Paul told Christians to follow him as he was imitating Christ. I observed that many Christians and also many non-Christians are better at acting like Christ than me. Well, that's fine, but then you just need to work on acting more like Christ yourself. That's a very long second. Yes, I know, Professor. Did you ever see Shin Ultraman teaser trailer? I have not. Hey, Andre, do you think 2021 will be crazier than 2020? I doubt it. And this is going to be it. I'm done. But I'll say, Daniel says, there's a person I know from my congregation. His name was Mike, and he had a girlfriend who did not believe in God or the faith, and he left her. It was so hard for her. Yeah, and that's part of the whole don't be unequally yoked. It's difficult, but yeah, we are called to be friends and to have relationships with non-believers. If we don't, then we can never show them what we've got that they don't. But we should not marry someone who does not believe. You can't have a healthy marriage and disagree on fundamental truths. And believe me, I've seen it. Every time that I've seen it in people, it makes for a difficult marriage. A good friend of Mrs. Antitrekker was married to a Muslim man. She was a Christian. And man, what a difficult relationship. And so if one of them is an atheist and one of them's a believer, one of them's a Christian, one of them is another religion, whatever it may be, it's a recipe for failure and disaster. And that's, do not be unequally yoked. So Brian says, when's your next live stream? So I'll finish with this, and thank you for that. I'm not reading any more chats. Don't bother. Unless somebody super chats before I finish this on a rant, that's it. So tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central will be on the Life with Matthew channel for the virtual pub. And so we do this every Monday at 8:30. It's a lot of fun. So come join us tomorrow night on Life with Matthew's channel. That is his username, Life with Matthew. He just has an open bar, bring your own booze, we talk, we hang out, we have a good time. On Tuesday evening, I'm planning on doing a live stream just like this one, where we're just going to hang out, maybe play some Path of Exile. I want to show you guys what I've been doing. And thank you, John. There's the link for Life with Matthew's channel, so you can go subscribe to him right now. If you're not, you absolutely should. So you should, on Tuesday night, I'll be hanging out here. Don't know exactly what time. I'm meeting, me and Mrs. Antrekker meet a friend of ours every Tuesday. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. He's a coworker of mine. He's also a Christian, and we just like talking and hanging out. So a little fellowship time that we do every week. So after we eat with him, then we'll come home and I'll do a live stream then. And then Wednesday is my Sabbath day. All right, so Wednesday, I do not work and I do not live stream. So Wednesday, nothing. You're not going to hear from me that day. Thursday, we will do, I do an evening live stream. It alternates on weeks. So right now, this week, it will be Orville Nation's Orville Nation featuring Orville Nation. So PJ, Orville Nation, and I hang out. If PJ's got any news on the Orville, we talk about that. Other than that, we just talk about nerdy stuff, whatever's going on, and, just hang out with you guys. And then Friday is Untitled Show about nerdy stuff. Usually that's around between 8:30 and 9 is when we start it. Usually have a couple of guests on, like Darren was on, as well as Ensign Ricky and Daniel's Hot Topics, and we were hanging out talking about WandaVision and stuff like that. And on that, it's just an open conversation, usually with 4 or 5 people, and just hanging out, having a good time as nerds. That's pretty much my live stream schedule right now. Saturday, 12-hour day. I don't do anything other than work. Sunday, at the end of my 12-hour shift, I do this. And that's, Article 62, the impeachment for Matthew. He doesn't bring me any booze. Well, that definitely sounds like impeachment grounds. All right, guys. So thank you once again. But Alexander, if you're still here, because I still don't have a closing theme song, just for you, I'm going to play your favorite closing theme song because I know how much you like this because I'm stalling to try and find the right button for it. There it is. Except that I got to hit that first.
Board vessels moving into range.
On screen.
Let's get lost
that magic place all alone now. Drink your fill from my fountain of love, wet your lips. I'm a man, I'm a teaser, I'm a man, well I'm a virgin, I'm a man, I'm a one-night stand, a man, I'm a man, I'm a man, I'm a girl, I'm a true divine, make love together.
He's dead.
The board vessel's moving into range.
On screen.